Hi, today we're going to do some preparations for upgrading the controller on the Sur-Ron bike. We're going to upgrade it to an BAC 4000 from ASI, and to get the most power out of that controller we're also going to do a battery bypass. So we're going to open up this puppy and we're going to do some modifications inside and let it discharge a lot more power than the original. And that's what it's all about. We are bypassing the discharge side on the BMS, the battery management system, so we're leaving the charge side alone. It's going to work exactly as before. So we're just letting the battery release more power when we need it. And it doesn't do anything on an original controller, so you need to have an upgraded controller to take advantage of this. So let's get started. What we need to do this is a couple of tools. You need to have some pliers. You need to have a Phillips size 2 head screwdriver. You need another plier for getting the cable stripped. You need a Torx wrench to open the case on the battery. And you need a crimp plier just to crimp the new cables on the old one. So I think that's about it. What's always nice to have also is electrical tape, and of course you're going to need a heat gun to shrink the protective part of the cable. So with all those tools lined up and ready, let's go ahead. So the first thing we're going to do is to loosen all the screws on the protective case on the battery, and you're going to feel that they are very loose, so that's something to keep in mind when you tighten it back. It doesn't take much, just fasten it, and probably not much more than that. So this is going to take a while. So I think that's everything, yeah. And the thing to remember now is when you open this case, for God's sake, don't short anything. Be very, very careful. I mean, it's still a 60-volt battery. It's a lot of power. If you short the main cables, you're going to get an explosion. Just don't, for whatever reason, do it. So it's going to open it like this. And here we have it. So one thing you can do is take something with a bit of weight, something like this, hook it on the other side, and we can take another thing with a bit of weight, just to weigh it down. It doesn't work, needs more weight, but we can keep it like this for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the connection that goes to the BMS system, and from the BMS system you have the main cable up to the connector, and what we're going to do is we're going to fit this one right about here and connect it to the 3 cables on the negative side, and those cables are still going to be attached because we still need to be able to charge the battery. So we're just going to leave them as they are for now, but I really would like to get this lid hanging a bit by itself. So I still think we could manage to get something with a bit more weight. Yeah, like this. So we need to remove the protection here, and one way to do that is just take a knife, pry it away. It shouldn't be that hard to get it loose, and always when you do something like this, be very, very sure that you protect everything from grounding it to the BMS system. So that's one. I'm going to get the other one also. Usually doesn't sit that hard. Yeah, that's so. Get the last one. It's a bit tricky to reach that one. Can pry open the cables a bit and see if you can get it away. Yeah, like this. What you also need to do now is to try to remove all the protective from the screws so you don't mess that up. You're going to use the same screws on the new cable, so we need to be careful about that. It's not that easy to get everything out of there, but do it right and you don't have to replace the screws. Do it wrong and you're gonna end up getting to the shop and get some new screws. And you don't want to do that. You want to get this working. There we got it, most of it at least. And of course, the one that's located in the back is always going to be the hardest one to fix. Murphy's Law. Yeah, I think that's okay. So what we're going to do now is cut the original cable, just like this. It's a thick cable, so it's not going to be absolutely super easy. What we're also going to do now is to put some protection over that. So we're going to take a shorter piece of this. Something like that. Just put it over that one. If you can also get it over that one. And then you take a heat gun and just be sure to something like that, and while it's a bit hot you can just, without burning your fingers, try to hold that. Yeah, there you got it. No problem at all. So we're going to take this and try to get some piece of the cable. Probably should have wanted a bigger one for this, but if you are careful it shouldn't be any problem to get it over. And be sure to have this one seated on the cable before you do this, because it's very hard to get them over those connectors, and that's not what we wanted. And we're going to do it like this. Put it back on, try to get all the wires inside of that one. I mean, if you miss one it doesn't really matter, because you're still going to put the protection on there. And then we're going to crimp that on, and it takes a bit of force to do it, and it's released, and there you have it. So just make sure that this is really secure before you put the protection on. Then you get the heat gun again. Try not to melt any other cables, so be careful. So there we have it. And I know that usually they say start with the outer one, but I prefer to loosen that up. Take those away. Be sure you don't connect anything. And now everything is going to want to fall down. So we can remove those. And look how easy it was this time. So that cable is going to attach to the front side. So we can take this, which is the cable furthest away. And you put the new cable beneath that and try to fit it back in like this. Just let it sit loose for now. Just want to get all the cables in place before we tighten it up. And you should also look at the direction on how they are mounted, because you're still going to get all these parts back in when you close the lid. So try to get it in the same direction. And now we're going to do the last cable. Get that screw on first. And we get usually does that for some reason. And I can tell you, it really helps if you are two-person doing this. You can make sure that somebody keeps all the cables away from the risk of being shorting. So tighten these. Same here, you don't have to torque it too much, but you definitely want them to be tight, because you don't want to get sparks here. So that's about it. And what we're going to do now is put some new protection on those. So we used a silicone. Cut the tip off that one. And we're going to put some new silicone on these to protect them. Takes too much effort to get something out of this. This is just so, if for some reason should get some crap in there. Usually doesn't, because when you put the lid back on, it's sealed also, if you didn't break the seal when you open it. And I think that's about it. So we're going to put that away. So that's basically the only thing you have to do. When you put this back, you have to be sure that you don't squeeze any cables. You also have to be sure that the gasket that seals the lid is in place. And I usually let these parts of the silicone dry for an hour before I close the lid on this one. So I'm not going to keep you here for an hour, so let's let this harden a bit, and we get back and close the lid and we try it out. So be right back. Okay, so we're back. I think this has hardened just enough so we can touch it without getting all gooey. Sorry. So we're going to check that the sealant is still on everywhere, all around the lid. And we're going to make sure that that cable don't get squeezed, and then we're going to push everything down. Something like this. There you have it. So put in a few screws on each side so we get the lid stable. Just all the way down to the bottom, but nothing more right now. And there you have it. You can always push the button and see that the display is working, so we haven't shortened anything out. It's no guarantee yet, but then we can put all the screws back. And before we do the final tightening of this, just make sure they get down to the bottom. And in this case, I would not recommend using any electrical screwdriver or something like that, because you're going to rip the threads. As it's just an aluminum profile and it's not even fully closed. You can see that there are some grooves in here, and that's pretty much everything you have the threads on. So be very careful. It's very hard to replace those if you mess it up. And as I said before, you don't need to tighten these very hard. Just to the bottom and then some. So pretty much, if you can't tighten it enough just by using those fingers, then you are in the risk of over tightening it. So it's always better to be safe than sorry, so you can tighten this, you run the bike for a while, you jump around, you get some vibrations, you can always go back and check if they are still tight and tighten them some more, but really try to avoid messing up the threads. Just feel around so we have tightened all of them. Yeah, and that's it. Now we are ending up with the bypass battery. So the next step is going to take full advantage of this battery and mounting the BAC 4000, which I haven't done yet. I like to start with the battery first, so that's ready to do some tests. And the thing you should remember when you do the bypass is that the charging side is going to work as before, no difference at all. The display is going to be very much delayed. So if you look at it now, I have 57%. If I would go to out and ride the bike right now and come back, it might still say about 57%, and it's going to take a while before it catches up and shows the actual charging. So that's the downside. So be sure when you have a controller that's upgraded that you have set in the tune so you can't get too low, because if you drain the battery too much it won't take any charge anymore. So that's the only downside I see it. Another downside, of course, is you're going to wear out the battery faster. Of course, I mean you're going to discharge a lot more power, so of course it's going to wear down the battery. I'm not sure how fast and how much in comparison to original, but with anything you can increase the power, it's going to shorten the life. So stay tuned for next time. We're going to do the installation of the BAC 4000 and we're going to do some tests. But battery ready to release more power. Have a nice day.